Hey, welcome back to On God. My guest this week is Barrett D. Carroll. Barrett and I met doing this musical in the desert. Through January through March, we were doing this incredibly gay, campy musical in Palm Springs. And he was my castmate, and we would have to drive out there every weekend. And he's an incredibly smart writer, director, performer. And on our car rides out there, we would have these really intense conversations on spirituality and religion. But also, Barrett was raised in a cult, like an actual cult. Like his dad has a beard down to his knees and has never cut his hair in his life. And he grew up in he was not like allowed to interact with other people. And so we get into the cult that he was raised in. And then we discuss a lot. He's really well researched, and he reads a lot of books on religion and spirituality. And so we dive into other topics around how he views that stuff now, how he got out of the cult. I think we talk about the musical a little bit. And we talk about, what's that guy's name? We talk about Rasputin's penis a lot. It's great. I hope you enjoy.
On God,
the world's holiest podcast.
It was wild. I'll never forget it. But I'm glad I got to meet you out of it.
Of course, yeah.
And you're a Valley girl.
I am a Valley girl. Wasn't always, though. I've lived kind of all over the city, but yeah, I'm in the Valley now.
Yeah, but you're from Oklahoma.
I am from Oklahoma, the state, the only state that has a musical.
Is that true?
It is true. Well, technically, Texas has a musical, but no one counts that.
Is it called Texas?
It is. It's like a local one in Texas that people kind of do in summer stock. They go there, but Oklahoma is a very famous musical. There's also a movie, and the state song. That's Rodgers and Hammerstein. So. It's a little different.
What is the premise of the musical Oklahoma?
It's about settlers, basically, and a guy that's in love with a girl, or he's kind of creepy, named Judd, and then Curly wants to be with her. I don't remember the whole thing. And the Aunt Eller, I don't know. You just got to watch it. It's a classic. It's a movie. Yeah.
Sounds so
great
boring.
Music, though. Great music.
That's not where there's not like, is there a song about corn? Musical?
Not specifically. No.
Okay.
I mean, it's like, oh, Oklahoma, where the winds come sweeping down the plains, and the waving wheat can sure smell sweet. That's the song.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, I have to check it out.
You've got to. It's the newest, greatest thing.
I'm not a musical gay, and that was something that I went into this musical not like being well versed, and everyone else was pretty well versed, but I quickly gained like a big appreciation for it.
For sure.
It was fun, and now I'm like so intrigued by it. So I'm late to the game.
For sure.
I feel like a bad gay in that respect.
Well, and not to disrespect my home state by the comments I just made, but it is also was a very iconic musical in its time. You know what I mean? So for a modern audience, may not appeal to everyone who's like new to theater, but it was a very pivotal show in its time.
Why do you think?
Why do I think it was a pivotal thing?
Yeah.
I mean, because you were kind of switching from like Rodgers and Hammerstein were just really iconic writers, and we were sort of switching from operettas into more of that would be considered musical, modern musical theater at the time. So, and it was very grand and dealt with a lot of. It deals with assault and abuse, and it was
Oklahoma?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. I did not see that coming.
Yeah.
What's your favorite musical?
It's a great question. Probably I got to do Spring Awakening years ago, and that's one of my favorite
Which
shows.
You were telling me Leah Michelle's, that was
not her Broadway debut, but it was
role?
Yeah, it was what made her famous, really, before Glee.
And that show sounds crazy.
It is, yeah, it's crazy. It's based on a book, I believe. And
it's like teenagers getting pregnant and getting abortions. And they don't know that they're having sex because they don't know what sex is.
Essentially, yeah. They're like learning about what what all of that means, and it's really, it kind of ties in well to conversations of religion and stuff, because it is about sort of the suppression of information and people trying to figure things out, especially in their teenage years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. I'll have to check it out sometime.
Trying to tie it all together, you know?
Everyone always tries to keep me on topic. Well, you have a really wild story.
Mm-hmm.
I was like blown away when I was talking to you, and that's why I wanted you to be on the pod. But also, we would have to, the musical we were in was in Palm Springs, and we would go on these long drives out to the desert, and so we'd end up talking about all these things about our lives, and both of us had like a large overlap of religious trauma and like being just like, we would get into these really long philosophical, theological discussions, which I always find so fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
But you were raised in a cult.
Yeah, basically.
Like, people use that term loosely, but you were actually raised in a cult.
They do. There's a lot of people who go to certain churches, but in some of those people's defenses, I think that there are a lot of things that are a cult. You know, you go back to ancient Greece, everything was any separate sort of ideology of worshiping this deity or worshiping this deity. Those were all technically their own individual cults. That's sort of where the term comes from. So in those people's defense, everything's kind of a cult. But yes.
Yeah, I mean, also you can say anything's a, you know, Soul Cycle is a cult.
Acting class.
Whatever. Totally.
Acting class.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
12-step programs.
Right.
Whatever you want to
Right.
be a cult is a cult.
That's very true. That's
Barry's
very true.
Boot Camp.
Berries.
One of the most dangerous cults in Los Angeles. Yeah.
Very true.
Anything is a cult. Anything
true.
that you subscribe to and like make a part of your, I guess, a ritual can
Right.
be a cult.
That's true.
Yeah. But your specific cult.
Uh-huh. Well, should I tell you?
Yeah. you
Yeah,
should
okay.
Tell me.
The shortest summarized version is, so I started doing commercial work when I was 3. I had family that was in extended, like cousins and uncles and aunts and stuff that were in the entertainment industry. So, and both of my parents really liked it. But we also grew up very, very religious, and we went to different churches, but my father could never like get along with anybody. I was homeschooled until college. I never went to school. But to summarize it, when I was about 9 years old, my father, all of these things evolved into my father believing that he was a prophet sent by God to stop the enrollment process of the Mark of the Beast. So I spent the rest of my childhood like preparing for the end times. So his hair was down to here. I got sat down when I was 10 and told who I was going to marry. And he had following in multiple states in like Missouri and Texas and Oklahoma. And a lot of our lives were very mysterious, what we were doing. And yeah, so I would work for my father and study the Bible every day, but it was very much his own interpretation. But that's where I give a little leeway, because I give a little leeway, because he did think for himself. He was unique in that sense, and and so he just started his own thing, and then he started ghostwriting legislation for multiple states, because these people who work in legislation in multiple states in Middle America also believe that he's a prophet sent by God to stop the enrollment process of the Mark of the Beast. So,
And you were telling me, so your dad believes that the enrollment process for the Mark of the Beast is the real ID?
Yep. So a lot of the lawsuits, why Real ID was held up, if you look up like Oklahoma and Texas and Arkansas and Colorado, there's many states that had they held up Real ID for a long time, and it was because people were suing the states for religious exemptions, and that was sort of led by my father, because he was.
What is unique about? I'm trying to understand what you have to do for the Real ID as opposed to a regular ID. You have to get fingerprints done. Is
It's
that
not
correct?
just the fingerprints. It's but I mean, and listen, even this, there was an element to his madness this was the least of the issues, though. It wasn't just the things he believed. He was a very abusive person. He was very crazy, so there's other elements, but he was ahead of his time in some of the ways regarding the collection of data.
I know that's what sound like, because also with Real ID, do you have to do an eye scan?
It's you go into a biometric system, but that biometric system actually, and this was after 9/11. A lot of cameras went from, you know how they used to be like the long ones, and then they became like the round cameras you see at like Walmart or whatever.
What do you mean a long camera?
Like, you know how before, back in the day, it was like elongated cameras.
What was?
The cameras.
What do you mean the cameras?
Like cameras anywhere in public. Is that what you're asking?
Wait, what do you mean the long cameras?
Like, you look up at the ceiling when you were a kid and you're in a grocery store.
Oh,
and the camera is
okay,
like,
you mean like the security cameras.
right, and then
these
now
long
they're
cameras.
like the round.
Yeah, okay.
Well, those are biometric cameras, so they look at the biometric breakdown of your identity. And so
what is someone who's not intelligent? What does biometric breakdown of a person mean?
it's basically, they said it was to so they could tell for sure who was who. But
Yeah.
when it initially happened, it was actually causing more identity theft because there were so many people that were able to access it. Because the problem with biometrics is it's also tied to like your social security, your bank account, your phone, your everything. So that was a part of the fear, was that everything was going into this biometric system. There was a worldwide database. So if any government, am I boring you?
No.
I'm just playing. You said.
Oh, I looked at my watch.
No, I know I'm playing. But no, that's pretty much it. It's like it just goes into this international database where so many people can access everything about you. So if they want to control you, it is easy to control you. So these lawsuits were geared toward getting religious exemptions against Real ID.
Okay. And then I wanted to go back to something that you said, which is so funny. That's like such an insane amount of information already.
I know, sorry.
No, it's a lot to unpack, and you have to give like the Cliff Notes version when people are like, you're at a party and someone was like, "So, are you close with your parents?"
Yeah.
And then you're like, "Well, here's the thing. I have a restraining order against my father
Right.
because he believes that he's a prophet of God."
Right.
And you're like, "Oh, okay. Like, where do I go from here?"
Yeah. Yeah.
You mentioned that when you were 10 years old, your dad sat you down and told you who you were going to marry.
Right. Yeah.
Who did he tell you were going to marry?
It was this guy who was like a follower of my father, and he had two daughters, and he became very close where he was doing like a lot of intimate work for my father. Intimate work sounds questionable, I guess, but like
he was a prostitute.
Yeah, he was doing his bidding, basically, like run this errand, go do this thing.
Okay.
And and he had these two daughters. Mind you, she was like 17 or 18 when this happened, and I was like a 10-year-old kid. And my parents sat me down and told me this is who I was going to marry. I didn't. I mean, at that age, about 10, 11, was when I really was realizing how messed up it was. And like I said, they would let me go do commercial work, and I worked in theater and stuff some, but then I immediately went back to not going to school, and I never saw any of that money, of course. But it was, I saw how other kids were not living this sort of life. Because, yeah.
But the girl, like what can I ask? Like, what did that look like when they sat you down? Was she in the room?
Yeah.
And your dad sat you down and was like, "This is the girl. You're 10 years old. This is a 17-year-old girl. When you're 18, you're going to marry her."
Uh-huh.
And what did the girl say?
She just kind of, and this is part of the Christian fundamentalist culture as a whole. I mean, obviously my father is this sort of off branch of that, of his own off branch of it. But it's one of the things with Christian fundamentalist culture in general, that there's a lot of kids are not supposed to be seen or heard. I mean, I used to put my hand on my father's hip to get permission to speak, and especially girls.
That is so insane.
I know, but girls have it even worse in terms of that sort of thing. This is
really, really This sounds like the Sharia law of Christians.
Well, it is. The people that are the most fearful of Sharia law are the ones who are practicing it in their own way. In America.
Sure.
We can maybe cut that part out later. I don't know. But it's true. But, girls who grew up in like fundamentalist, off-branch evangelical culture, this is not an uncommon thing, especially for young girls. There's many girls that have their fathers give them promise rings. And they do. My sister would do like fake wedding ceremonies with my father, which I think is like one of the creepiest. I think that's so creepy. And I know so many girls.
Would they dress up?
Yeah, sure did.
Did they kiss?
I don't remember specifically, but it was a lot of uncomfortable things that went on.
What was your role in the fake marriage?
I don't know that I had a role in it. I was always just sort of dancing to my own beat, to be honest. I was like,
You're like,
this
my
is
sister's
crazy.
marrying my dad at 3 p.m. today.
Right.
Just as a rehearsal.
And mind you, I was homeschooled, so there was a lot of time to kill, you know?
This is like what people think homeschoolers are up to, which is rarely the case, but you're like the exception, being like the weird homeschool kid whose sister is marrying his father every other week.
Well, I wouldn't say I'm the exception, to be honest, but I think there are parents that have great intentions and they're not always like that. But I think a lot of highly religious people who are homeschooling their kids, there are some strange things happening behind closed doors.
I just feel like my experience is so, like, I have like such a diet version of what you're talking about. Like my parents, in a big way, there's such a spectrum of being conservative,
For sure.
in quotes, and my parents were like very loving people. And I mean, there were just always weird exceptions to the rules. Like we would be able to watch like R-rated movies, and like I remember going to see like Final Destination in the theaters as a family when I was like 6 years old, and I was like, why are we watching this movie? But I wasn't complaining about it, but it didn't seem to make sense. But it's like your parents are humans, and like they're kind of figuring it out too. But it was harder for me to navigate and to see like what I did or didn't agree with in the religion because it was so convoluted. Whereas in your setting, it seems like it was so blatantly not appropriate that like I almost think it would be easier to see that this was not okay. And it sounds like you didn't even have a sense of community.
Right, I didn't.
Like the thing that kept me being like very involved in the church, and I don't think church is bad, and like sometimes I still go to church, but the thing that kept me like thinking like, oh, do I have to believe all this is true, is like I had a really incredible community at my church, and I had a lot of friends there, and we had fun together.
Right.
You know?
Right.
But you didn't have that. You were like isolated.
Correct.
And your dad is like, I am a direct source to God. I am a prophet.
Correct. Well, and at times we would try and go to churches, other churches and stuff, you know, but he would always get in these huge blow up fights with everyone there. And so anytime I started to have a sense of that, and I think that was part of the fear, anytime I had a sense of community or seeing how other kids were living their life, that was very much a pull back kind of thing because it was too much exposure, you know?
Yeah.
Which is often how narcissistic, controlling people are.
Do you know where that girl is that you were supposed to marry?
I don't.
Do you remember her name?
I do.
We should Facebook stalk her.
I think I've thought about that before. I wish her well. I really think she didn't speak much. I mean, she was a very sweet, very pretty young woman. I mean, like I said, she was quite a bit older than me, but she was just kind of doing her father's bidding in his own way.
Yeah.
So,
oh my God, that poor girl. I hope she's okay.
I hope so. I think she's probably grown out of it at this point. I feel like.
I hope so. Who knows?
Well, I mean, like I told you.
Maybe she's waiting for you.
I don't think so. I hope not. I feel like most kids who grow up in that sort of environment eventually, I mean, even think about, what is it? The Westboro Baptist Church.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of those kids have left, not a lot, but a couple of them have left. And it's really interesting to hear, their stories. Because while it was different, there are certainly similarities.
Westboro Baptist, that they were most famous for like the God hates fags, like protesting all that stuff.
Right. And they would protest like, they would protest that. They would protest soldiers' funerals for some reason. They would protest just different things like that. But yeah, a lot of gay. They were very anti-abortion, very anti-gay.
Your dad believed that he was a prophet. That was his mission on earth, was to stop the enrollment process of the Mark of the Beast.
Correct, yeah. So we lived on a big acreage with a barbed wire fence around it, and like once I turned 10, he basically didn't want. I still could go do certain things, but then once cameras themselves on phones and digital cameras and stuff started to have like biometric capabilities, he also did not want photos taken at all of himself ever. So I don't have any photos of my father.
Really?
Except for before I was like 9 or 10, yeah. Except when my mom finally left him, she got a photo of him kind of from behind, which is...
Is his beard still like down to his knees?
I think in that one, I can't remember where his beard is. I have it on my phone somewhere, but his hair is down to his knees. He has a ponytail down to his knees.
Why? What is with that?
Because God told him not to cut his hair until he finishes his mission.
So one day he's gonna like show up with a bob cut and you're gonna be like, girl, congrats, you finished your mission.
Well, it would just be this ongoing thing where he would say, oh, we're making progress with this lawsuit. Oh, it's it's the goalpost was always moving of what it was going to be. And so it was it was very interesting, but getting my driver's license was the catalyst for me leaving, because I did that in secret. And when he found that out, he told me I betrayed my family and, all the things. So I said, I'm out of here. And that was that.
What is it with cult leaders and having like disturbingly long hair and long beards?
It's a great question.
It reminds me of like Rasputin. Is that his name from Anastasia?
For sure, with the 13-inch cock, yeah.
What?
He has a 13-inch dick.
Rasputin does?
Sure does, yeah. Well, not anymore. They cut it off and they put it in a museum.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Why are you saying this like everyone knows what you're talking about?
Well, they should. If you don't, you should know.
What museum is that in?
I don't remember what museum, but...
it's 13 inches flaccid?
Yeah. It's like in a glass jar. Well, Rasputin is really interesting because he really kind of displayed supernatural powers. And if you look at pictures of him, he's so terrifying looking.
I was... like even the cartoon,
right.
I was horrified,
right.
And there was something that like stood out to me from that cartoon where
sure.
I felt disturbed.
Well, and he was sleeping with a lot of the women in the royal family, and they thought he was healing them because one of the sons.
Well, he was hung as hell.
Yeah, well, yeah, that might have been part of it. But they tried to kill him multiple times. They poisoned him. He lived. They shot him. He lived. They wrapped him in after he'd been shot several times, and they wrapped him in a carpet, and then they drowned him. And I think that's how he finally passed away. And then the rumor is that whenever they dug his body up later and they went to burn it, he sat up while he was burning, which also can just happen from like ligaments being
right, like weird things happen after people die where they respond.
Right.
I've seen The Pit.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm obsessed with Rasputin's massive penis. Did not know this.
Same. Yeah.
He has like this psychotic energy where he would just like change your life in bed.
For sure. Especially after you see...
Well, he would change your body in bed if he had 13 inches.
Look at it. It's in a museum in a glass jar.
In Russia?
I don't know if... You just have to Google it. It's out there. If you just Google Rasputin's penis, I'm not sure.
Anya, the producer, is Googling it right now.
Thanks, Anya. Stat.
There has to be a gay porn star named Rasputin.
Oh, for sure. I know there's a beer company, which is interesting. Because I'm like,
I was always so fascinated by him as a kid. He was so disturbing, and there was just like so much mystery around that family.
Right. Well, my father is
Russia is so fascinating.
My father's like a mix between Rasputin and Charles Manson. That's like his general look. Yeah.
That's his vibe.
That's vibe
on his Tinder profile.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
It's like yeah, I'm a Rasputin rising, but I'm a Charles Manson moon.
Right. Did you find it?
Penis of Gregory Rasputin is on display at the museum in St. Petersburg, Russia.
Oh, so it is in Russia, yeah.
Okay, we gotta go to Russia.
Yeah. Now's the time. If there was ever a time.
The new gay hotspot, St. Petersburg, Russia.
Yeah. Oh, great.
Oh, I don't know if we can. Oh. It's historical. Oh, okay.
Right.
You're allowed to show pornography as long as it's historical.
Also is in like a weird, like preserved liquid,
Sure.
So it's just very interesting looking. You saw it? Yeah, it's like interesting looking. Yeah.
I'll have to do some research later
Mm-hmm.
for historical purposes.
Can you imagine though? You know how the Louvre recently got robbed in
Yeah,
Paris?
I don't really know the details behind that.
If Rasputin's penis goes missing,
We'll know why. Suddenly it's in
Might be
Anya's
me.
apartment. She's like, I randomly have to go to St. Petersburg. She's like, my mom's not feeling well. I have to go to Russia.
That's crazy.
So you're not in communication with your dad anymore?
No.
When's the last time you spoke to him?
I saw him at my grandfather's funeral in 2018.
You were
And
close with your grandfather?
I was very close with my grandfather.
And this is your dad's dad?
It is my dad's dad, yeah.
What did your dad's dad think about your dad?
He thought he was crazy.
Oh, that's so...
Yeah.
I'm glad. I mean, that must have been a nice reassurance for you, right?
It was. I mean, my grandfather truly was like my saving grace as a kid, because it was, they were around, but it was about when I was 12 years old that I really started to, I feel like I have a hair on my face, sorry, that I really started to kind of open up for the first time about, some of the things that were going on, and to what degree. And my grandparents, they were already at that point, I think, like in their 80s, so there wasn't really a lot that they could do. I mean, in hindsight, I wish maybe they would have done more, but they were in their time. But they had been dealing with him his whole life, I mean, there was a period of time he used to steal money from their company, and your
dad would steal money from your grandpa
long before he was a cult leader. He was a drug dealer and was riding around on a motorcycle and stealing things, and and then he found God.
Right. There's a shocking conclusion that a con artist turned into a cult leader.
Oh,
no one
so
could have
shocking.
seen that coming.
Never.
Blindsided. Did he have followers, your dad?
He did, but it was
I mean, I guess he has these people in the government who he's writing legislation for.
Well, and there's people who believe in this, and they are helping him. Like, there's people he recruits. Like, my father actually doesn't want his name on anything, so he's always been very private, always been very secretive about everything. So his name's not on anything. His picture's not anywhere.
Kind of a hot quality in a guy.
I mean, truly, yeah. He doesn't.
Whenever you go on a date with a guy and he doesn't have an Instagram, I'm like, there's something special about this one.
Well, there might be something special, a little too special.
He might be a con artist and a cult leader.
Yeah, truly.
He might have that Rasputin hog.
But yeah, he there are people that he's convinced to purposely get themselves arrested so that they could sue whatever state they get arrested in, like driving without a license. He hasn't had a license in forever. And
interesting.
Yeah, so it's an ongoing journey for him, I think. But that's how he justifies his. If it wasn't just that, if he was like also a nice person and he just had this belief system, it would have been a little easier to deal with, I think. But he was like a terrible person too. So
he was very physically
abusive. Yeah.
Oh, that really breaks my heart.
Yeah.
Well, you were just such an angel, and you've been such a great person in my life, and I can't believe like the past that you've come from. Like, it's a miracle that you have like turned out so sweet and like, I don't know, as well as you did. You should be a serial killer.
I mean, once I get that Rasputin cock, you never know what I'll turn into. No, I appreciate that. It's been a work in progress. I've definitely been a mess at times in my life. But like I said, my grandfather was such a positive influence in my life, and he was just like the polar opposite of my father, and it was something he really struggled with, was what did I do wrong? Why is my son like this? It was.
I can't really imagine like raising it. It reminds me of that. Did you ever see that movie, We Need to Talk About Kevin?
That sounds really familiar. I'm not sure.
It's Tilda Swinton, and then who's that guy who like played the Flash? who got canceled and then said he was non-binary, so it didn't count.
I don't.
He like threw a chair at a Japanese woman.
No, he's attacked
Hawaii,
multiple people,
and then was like, "Guys, I'm non-binary."
Right.
Like,
What
no
is
one
his
cares.
name?
You still
Ezra Miller. Ezra Miller.
Yeah.
Ezra Miller. Yeah.
He like tried the Kevin Spacey route. He like
Right.
literally punches someone in the face, and he's like, my pronouns are she, they. I'm not responsible for physically assaulting you. And
I don't know if that's what he said, but
it was something crazy like that.
Yeah.
There was something strange going on. Anyways, he's in this movie. We need to talk about Kevin.
Right.
But it's Tilda Swinton. She's a totally normal woman.
Mm-hmm.
And like just like an ordinary woman. And her son like keeps like, I think like one time she comes home and he has like a crossbow and he just like shoots a cat in their living room. And he progressively keeps doing more and more violent things.
Right.
And it's this really weird character study of her just being like, what did I do to make someone who is like innately evil?
Well, it's like Dahmer, like Dahmer's parents. You know, you watch interviews with them. It's very sad to see, and not that my father was like Dahmer, but
Yeah.
my grandma would tell me like when he was a little kid, he would get mad and he would just like bash his head into the ground, just like over and over. And so there's always been something a little touched with him, you know.
Wow.
But he's brilliant in his own way, which is the crazy part. He taught himself how to be a mechanical engineer, and so
That's what he was doing for like his day job was mechanical engineer, but like he was an aspiring cult leader.
Well, kind of, sort of, yeah.
Right?
Well, yeah. So instead of us going to school, we were building carburetors for him outside of the back of our house. That he said
I'm
was.
sorry, I didn't mean to laugh.
It's okay, you can laugh. And that's why I chuckled even about the abuse thing, because it's like, I left at 16, and while it was a terrible thing, and I'm glad I left.
Yeah.
You find an element of, you gotta laugh at something, right?
I mean, I suppose you have to laugh at it. It's
Yeah.
just so psychotic. But like while everyone else is like learning geography in school, you're literally building a carburetor.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. And it was
I just have this picture of like those assembly lines of like child soldiers like making AK-47s and you're just like literally in the back of your house assembling carburetors.
Well, it is interesting some of the things he was very obsessed with certain things. So he would make me watch what he liked watching while we were building carburetors. So he would put on certain operas that he was really into, that we would just watch those operas every day, and a lot of Shakespeare. And
Interesting. Sounds like he was the one who inspired your...
I think he was like a closeted artist. And that's how my parents actually met. He was a drummer in a band.
What?
Right.
Wow.
So I think some of the crazy artists mixed with drugs and religion, it's a crazy cauldron of...
Yeah. Closeted
Lots of
artist
things.
becomes cult leader. It's giving Adolf. It's giving baby Adolf.
I did compare him to him a couple of times to his face, and he was not happy about that. But
Yeah.
yeah, but we really did clash when I was like 12 or 13, because I had enough. I saw enough of the world at that point where I was like, this is some bullshit. You know what I mean? And so it was like,
Did you have friends? Were you able to like go out and hang out with people?
Yeah,
that like exposed you to different things?
Well, it was, I got $1,000 and I bought a van that was allergic to water when I was 15. But before that,
I'm sorry, you keep saying things that make no sense, as if everyone else like knows what you're talking about.
Well, my van, my $1,000 van that had like...
I bought a car that was allergic to water.
It had like 3 back seats. It was a massive mom
like,
van.
is this like a chapter in like a magic school bus book?
It could have been. But no, anytime
it's giving Miss Frizzle.
Well, I did have the
Sorry,
ginger.
your car was allergic to water.
Anytime it would rain, yeah, it would die.
Okay.
But all that to be said, I was driving that.
How did you get $1,000?
My grandfather, and then also once I started standing up to him about 12 or 13, like I said, he would still let me go and work at this regional theater, go and do this commercial and stuff sometimes, but he became more pulling back on that.
Oh, so theater and commercial work was your exposure to the outside world.
Yeah, totally.
So that kind of saved your life.
Absolutely. I mean, it was the only option I had to do anything though, because I didn't go to school. So, but it totally saved my life. And I saw how other kids were living their life, and just the joy of it all. But he very much was felt that some of that was too much exposure, and then but then he was so paranoid at that point that I was like, I'm going to go do this, or I'm going to call the police on you, because he's illegally running a business outside of the back of our house. He's extremely anti-government. He doesn't have a driver's license. He doesn't,
You would threaten to call the police?
Oh, 100%, yeah. And he would...
At like 13?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Oh, wow.
We would get in huge like physical fights and stuff, and I'd be like, I'm going to go do this show. I'm going to go do this thing. And I would, whatever money I could, I would put to the side, and then I would give it to my grandpa, and my grandpa opened an account for me. And that's how I got my van.
Wow.
At 15. And then I was, I got my driver's license, and that was, like I said, the catalyst for me leaving.
I imagine you like chatting with the kids at like your at the craft service table during the breaks,
Right.
And they're like, yeah, I'm excited to go home and like watch Wishbone and Barney, and you're like, what about the carburetors? Don't you guys have to like have 4 done by midnight? And they're like, what are you talking about? And you're like, well, we all assemble carburetors when we're at home. And they're like, no, that's not normal.
Right.
And they're like, and you're like, your car's allergic to water too, right?
Yeah, I mean, there was you did see early on. We were around some other homeschool kids, so like pretty early on. So I saw some of them, but also they were not normal either. They were like their own flavor of weird.
So sad.
Yeah.
When I went to college, I was like, I went to college from Indonesia. I went to school in Chicago. And there was like one other girl at my college who also was from Indonesia. And I would like just hide this part of my identity because I didn't want to be known as like the weird jungle kid or something.
For sure. Yeah.
Because people just didn't have a conception of what that looked like. The other girl who was from Indonesia was majoring in the oboe, and she refused to wear shoes, and she didn't shave her legs. And so it's just like everything that like I did not want to be associated with. Like we were in Chicago, like it would be snowing, and she'd be walking around barefoot with like these really like now it's like girl power, but also like she had like these bush legs, like carrying around an oboe, and it was like, that's the kid from Indonesia. I would be like, please don't associate me with her.
And I'm sorry, did you know her back?
No, she grew up in Papua, and I was in Java. It was like 2 separate islands.
I see.
But it was just like we were the 2 kids from Indonesia. And I don't think anyone else on campus gave a fuck or was like paying attention to that. But just like for me knowing like, when people would find out, I'd be like, oh, like if they found out I was from Indonesia, they would be like, we know another girl from Indonesia.
Right.
And I would be like, I don't know her.
Right. Yeah.
Like, we have not.
Well, I did that too with just being homeschooled, and even just the stuff about my father. Like there was so much of that I never told people until much later. So like in college, going to school for the very first time, I'm like, yeah, I went to a really private school.
I would just make up lies because I didn't want to
same.
get into my backstory because it was too much, and I just wanted to be like everyone else.
Right.
I was so obsessed with like the traditional American high school experience, and I thought it was so cool how they had like cafeteria tables where like, I don't even know if that was real. Like the jocks sat and like the nerds sat or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like this very fantastical depiction.
I mean, maybe it's real. I don't know. I never experienced. I never went to school. I don't know.
Did you go to a regular school?
Is that
Anya?
real?
I did go to a regular school. Yeah, it's real. I mean, I went to a pretty big high school. So
Yeah.
It was like pretty big and like pretty diverse. So there were like a lot of things. But yeah, you like.
Yeah.
There were
popular-
cliques
yeah,
and stuff.
You had, like,
Yeah.
popular kids or like kids who like the dance group, kids hung out together.
And it probably depends where in the country too.
Yeah.
Like some people are like super into football or like, yeah.
What do you are you religious at all anymore now? Do you think about you've told me your description of God now, you call it source.
I like to call God source.
That seems like
now.
a really safe I mean I like that people subscribe to it. Someone else I talked to on Instagram recently, they're like, I really need to get back to myself, and I asked them, how do you do that? And they said, I just connect with source.
Right. And I like that. And I like that terminology. I think there are some people who use that terminology in a way that's, well, I'm not even going to get into that, but it's still an ongoing journey for sure. But I definitely, you know, after leaving my father, and that background, I still consider myself a Christian. Like, that was so hard for me to let go of that identity in any capacity for a very long time. So I continue to try and go to different churches and stuff throughout college and even after. And then I kind of just got more, like, less and less intense, and then going to non-denominational churches. And then, of course, in LA, then everyone just crosses paths somehow through Mosaic. Everyone you encounter in LA has gone to Mosaic at some point.
Did you go for a while?
I sure did. Who didn't?
I did one time.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I didn't go a ton, but I
Someone
tried
when
to.
I first moved to LA was like, Robert De Niro and Justin Bieber go there.
Interesting.
And I was like, I gotta go.
I thought Justin Bieber went to Hillsong.
He went to a number of churches. Yeah. But it was like this weird, I don't know. But also the main pastor there, is it Erwin McManus?
Yeah, I think so.
He wrote this book that I had to read in high school called The Barbarian Way.
Uh-huh.
And it was like, what it means to be a real man of God.
Mm-hmm.
And like every man at my high school like read that book. And he was just like kind of like a divine source of like, this is like a real man.
Which is also funny because I think his degree is in fashion.
Is it?
I'm pretty sure. Or like he started in fashion. I'm not sure if his degree is in fashion, but he
Okay,
started
girl.
in fashion.
Okay, Miss Thing.
He seems like a relatively nice guy, but there's plenty of things with every church.
The Barbarian Way, capital BARB.
Wait, that's what it's called?
No. I was just thinking with his fashion.
Barb.
Yeah, he's like, he's a barb.
His rebrand. They just go and reprint them. And
although Nicki is like so MAGA now.
wait, who he is?
No, Nicki Minaj. Barbs, that's what they call fans of Nicki Minaj. Do you know that?
No, I was homeschooled. Yeah.
Okay. I was homeschooled till 6th grade. You don't know what a barb is?
No.
Nicki Minaj fans are called barbs.
See, there's still
It's
things
short for like she's a Barbie.
right.
And they're barbs.
I've lived a lot of life.
This has
but
been around a lot longer than you were homeschooled.
I know, I'm just
Nicki
fucking with
Minaj
you.
wasn't even popular until
No, I'm just
in
fucking with
college.
you. But I will say there are things that are just missing because I had to focus on like, survival and catching up with other elements of life. Teaching
should know
myself
what a
math
barb
for the
is.
first time, stuff like that.
Oh yeah, you're not great at math.
I didn't learn math, yeah. So college was interesting, for sure. But to answer your question, I am at a point where I kind of continue to deconstruct, and oftentimes the things that the hypocrisy I found in my father was the thing that bothered me the most. And then as I continued to go to other churches, I often saw that same hypocrisy in so many other people. And it really bothered me. And then obviously coming to terms with my own like sexual identity and things like that was such a wild journey of itself. But I do believe in something that's bigger than all of us. And like I said, I like to call it source because I think it's like the great, I think of it as like this all-powerful light that everything stems from. Yeah. And it's what we come from, what we return to, and what is a part of everyone. And I think that's our job on earth, is to see it within ourselves and recognize it in each other.
That's beautiful.
Thanks.
That's cool. How do you feel like you connect with Source?
I've been a little, there are phases of it because I also...
No, I'm like genuinely asking because like recently I felt like so disconnected from myself. I think from doing this musical show so many times, I was just like kind of on autopilot.
Mm-hmm.
And then it ended and I was like, what's next?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And like feeling a big need to like sort of reconnect with myself and like remind myself like, oh, what am I doing?
Mm-hmm.
And like be intentional with my actions. But I'm like having a hard time connecting.
Mm-hmm.
But the best way that I do that I know how to do is like through meditation and prayer. But I have to do that stuff on a daily basis and I'm really bad at it.
I think meditation and prayer is a great way to do it. I think, getting in nature, like being in nature as much as possible. That's something that always, if I feel disconnected from myself or from, God or source or whatever you want to call it, I think that's one of the best things to do is like, truly, they say touch some grass, and I'm like, oh yeah, this is alive. Everything here, everything. That's what's, because I love space as well. And I think that's the most amazing thing about this planet is that literally like everything here is alive. And I think just getting in touch with nature is like a beautiful reminder of that we are here for such a brief moment in time, and it's a very powerful, beautiful thing.
Yeah, I went to the beach on Sunday because I felt that. I think I asked you what I should do, and you said connect with nature. And so I was like, I'm going to go into the ocean.
Into the ocean?
Yes. Like I was like, I need to be in the ocean, in the water.
Which beach?
I went to Will Rogers.
Okay.
Which I thought would take me to Ginger Rogers, and I didn't realize they were different places.
Ginger Rogers was a dancer and an actress, right?
It's like a code name for the gay part of the beach.
Oh. I didn't know that was also a beach.
Yeah. So I thought it was just a code name for Will Rogers, but no, it's like an actual part of the beach. So Will Rogers I went to was like straight, and it was a mile away.
Will Rogers is also from Oklahoma.
Who the hell's that?
Well, the guy named after the beach.
I know. What the hell did he do?
He was a performer. He was like a very famous performer back in the day.
Oh, okay. Will and Ginger.
No, I don't think that they were connected.
Okay.
I could be wrong, but I think Ginger Rogers was like a famous actress who was also like a tap dancer.
Oh, Ginger Rogers is a girl?
I'm pretty sure. And then Will Rogers was like from the Follies era, if I'm not mistaken.
I think the beach is called Will Rogers, and then there's a fake subsect of the beach for the gays, and they just codenamed it Ginger Rogers.
Just as
like a funny.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, I hope you didn't get any like salmonella or anything. I don't know if it's salmonella, but I heard that Santa Monica and stuff, they're like, don't get in the water.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I fully got in, and I was like drinking it. I'm just kidding.
Oh, I was like, not the salt water.
No, I didn't drink it. I just laid in the sun and swam in the ocean, and I did feel better.
Good.
Yeah, one of my favorite things to do in the past was to do ketamine and lay in the ocean. Have you ever done that?
That doesn't sound like the safest thing to do, but
I don't do drugs anymore, but it was awesome.
I've not ever done ketamine and laid in the ocean.
Well, because it's just the perfect environment to be floating in.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I'm not saying I've not done. I'm not gonna deny having done perhaps one of those things. I just not at the same time.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, that's
you know what I'm saying. But I understand the appeal that you probably felt.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah,
it was so good.
You didn't get a sunburn or anything? Doesn't seem.
No, I tanned pretty well, and I used sunscreen
from your Indonesia time.
Yeah, I don't know why I tan well. I'm like Polish.
Oh, do Polish people tan well?
I don't know.
I don't think they probably would, but I'm sure you probably have some other genetics in there too. Hopefully, right?
I think. Well, I know I'm 0.4% Sri Lankan, so that probably is what came out when I was at the beach.
That's the tan.
Yeah. That's the tea.
I just freckle.
Yeah, my Sri Lankan side was really popping off at the beach the other day.
Not the Sri Lankan.
Yeah, that's I got some MIA in me.
Sri Lankan. Well, I mean, you're similar though. You have like you still practice your spirituality, right?
Yeah, I feel like I'm ever evolving in my relationship with like God or source or whatever you want to call it. I just like try to. I mean, I feel much better when I'm not focused on myself, and like when I'm not thinking about myself all the time. So it like provides like something else for me to put my energy into, and it also is just like very comforting for me. I don't know if it's like a sign of weakness, but like even today as I was thinking about projects that I'm working on, I was like, oh, I don't have to go into this alone. Like I can invite God into this experience, which like I've talked to my therapist about this. I have like, it's embarrassing for me sometimes to say things like that because I feel like a child to say like I'm inviting God to be a part of this process, but I don't care. I do it. I literally am like, hey, God, can you help me write this thing? Or like, can you help me work on this thing?
I don't think you should be embarrassed about that. I think that everyone is on their own journey. Nobody has any of the answers for anything. and as long as you know why you believe the things you believe, that's it. And you know the journey you've been on, and that's ultimately, I think, what matters most. Because I think there's a lot of people who come from a religious background and then they want to say, oh, I want nothing to do with this, I don't believe any of this anymore, and that's okay, whatever works for them, but that doesn't mean that that's necessarily what you continue to resonate with.
Yeah,
personally.
I actually, when I was in the ocean the other day, not on ketamine, living my Sri Lankan life, I had this sort of epiphany where I was like, I'm always going to be a Christian. Like, that's just like in my bones. Like, whether or not I go to church or something, it's just like a part of the culture, like, that I will always identify with.
You mentioned that to me, yeah. Which, I mean, even what you were saying a minute ago about like helping others, or that's what, you know, it's isn't that Jesus has said it's better to give than to receive, you know?
Yeah, he was talking about topping. Jesus was bottom shaming.
I think that was David and Jonathan.
Jesus was bottom shaming. It's better to give than receive. Clock it, honey.
Well, that is a thing about having my own belief system. Is
Okay.
I still struggle with I love history. I love like religious
I thought
history.
you were gonna say I struggle with bottoming.
I struggle with bottoming.
Do you? Is that what you
No.
were gonna say?
No, that's
You're like,
not.
girl, it's not a struggle for me. I am loose as a goose.
Oh yeah.
You're like, I struggle not to bottom.
I'm open for the Holy Spirit to come in at all times.
Yeah, you are.
And Rasputin.
Oh my God, yeah. You got that Rasputin hole.
But
Good for you, girl. I'm sorry, I'm being so unserious.
no, that's great.
You struggle to invite the Holy Spirit into your life?
No, I'm saying that because I love like religious history,
Yeah.
sometimes I feel like I get into, because I'm just like an avid researcher about stuff though too, so I feel like I sometimes get into that kind of stuff, and then I see how much stuff has changed over time. I see so I sometimes feel a little disconnect from my spiritual self when I dig a little too much, because you see how people have used and abused religion as a whole.
Ugh,
You know,
I mean, yeah, we could talk about that forever. Right. You're so incredibly smart. It like is really intimidating to me, and you're so well researched and you read everything. I think you had this effect from being homeschooled. You like weren't taught this stuff, so then you overcompensated and you're like, I want to know everything. And I did not get that was so not me.
I think I just wanted the truth. I know,
but
truth.
you're so
Yeah.
diligent about stuff, but you also are just like really fascinated with history and religion, and you have read and done so much research that like you will tell me things about God or the Bible where I'm just so blown away. And I'm like, why has no one ever told me this before?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of really incredible scholars who know far more than I do, but I think you going to those people instead of, I mean, there's so often are going to their pastors and they're just believing whatever it is their pastors
Who
tell
often
them.
don't know anything.
Who don't know most of the time. Or they go to these Bible colleges that, I mean, like in Oklahoma, there's a Bible college that is
What's it called?
ORU.
Oral
Roberts,
Roberts
yeah.
University. Yeah.
Oral Roberts.
I know. I always thought that was interesting. Yeah, I had a good friend from high school go there.
Yeah, a lot of people do.
How are you?
They have these 3 gold buildings that are the shape, the width, the height, and the depth of Noah's Ark. For some reason,
Girl, bye.
they're gold, and and they are like. But anyway, there's so much. People go there, and then they're just taught what that school tells them to believe, essentially, and then they go on and they end up being leaders of churches, and they just tell people. So there are these schools that end up being basically these propaganda machines, and those are not the people who are actually doing detailed research of like who actually wrote these. I mean, so much of especially, let's just stick with the New Testament for a second. The New Testament is just essentially a compilation of letters, and oftentimes people at that time wrote as someone else, like in a fictional way, but most of them were not put together until
I know, like the Gospels weren't even probably written by Matthew, Mark, Luke, or John.
Well, they weren't. I mean, they were written about 90 to 100 years after
Yeah,
the
the
death of
earliest
Jesus.
gospel was written 90 years after the death of Jesus.
Paul is
the earliest recollection in writing that we have in the Bible of Jesus's life was written over 90 years after he died.
correct. Yeah, correct.
If you wrote, like, if you wrote a memoir about someone that you loved and it was 90 years after they died, that was the first written recollection of it.
Well, and then the rest of the New Testament is, so the people who are 90 years later who are claiming that they are the ones who knew Jesus, there are those people. And then the other half of the New Testament was written by Paul, who was a Roman who used to persecute Christians and then never met the man and then essentially took over the religion. So, you know, there's a lot to unpack there for sure.
I mean, obviously, I feel like the biggest like comeback from that would people be like, well, it was an oral tradition. So like, you know, people weren't writing everything down all the time. So them having 100-year break in between writing it down was not like that uncommon for the times.
That's true.
But I mean, we've all played the game telephone.
Right.
You see how that turns out.
There's an argument to be made there for sure. I mean,
you write that Jesus went on a walk, and at the end of the game of telephone, Jesus says you can't be gay.
right.
So,
Well, I think we talked about this one day. One of the disappointing things I found was like this story about whoever hasn't sinned can throw the first stone. You know, that whole story.
yeah.
That was one of the ones I learned that was like not added till like much later, like a lot later. And I was like, oh, that's disappointing because that's one of the good ones. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it was just like a good fable that they added in there.
Yeah.
This is so random, but what is your favorite? You love horror movies.
Yeah.
Do you think you're drawn to horror movies because of I almost said something so scary.
What? What would you say? What were you gonna say?
I almost said, do you think you're drawn to horror movies because of how horrific your life was?
That's it.
Such an insensitive way of phrasing a question. I feel so close with you, though, so I can ask you that. But
I could ask you about your horrendous childhood. Yeah.
so, based on what I know about you, your life has been dog shit. Just kidding. You went through a lot, though. Girl, I don't know how you came out on the other side.
Well,
but I feel like a lot of people with religious backgrounds are so attracted to horror because it's just like such an exaggerated version of like the expression of the trauma that they experience.
I think it's one of the only genres, and I like horror a lot more now than I used to because I think it's there's a lot more opportunity to, you know, before it was a little more like this is what a horror film is, and it's like it's a slasher film, it's a this, you know, and now there's a lot more room of the psychological element of things and the metaphorical element of things, and I think there is a lot of everything I do, I always say I either want to be entertaining, educating, or empowering, and I try and do that in some capacity. And but no, truly, like everything I work on or project, I want to do one of those three things in some way.
Yeah.
Even if ideally all together, but sometimes individual.
I always say that entertain, educate, and what was the other one?
Empower.
Yeah.
Totally. But you know, I think with horror, it can be a very entertaining thing for a lot of people, but I also think there's a lot. What I love is the idea of putting a mirror up to parts of society or people and seeing what people can take from it. And yeah, a lot of times it's like the unsaid of what is going on in people's minds or what are people's deepest fears, you know? And I think there's a lot of commonality in horror that are not often the things that are talked about publicly.
I want to ask you some like rapid fire questions.
Okay.
What's your favorite horror movie?
Hereditary.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hereditary.
That feels like a family drama to me with some really horrific moments.
Yeah, I think it's...
Who's your favorite actress?
My favorite actress? Ooh, that changes. Oh, that changes a lot. I mean, I think... Well, I love Viola Davis. I love Viola Davis in so many except when she played Michelle Obama. That one was almost unforgivable, but I loved her in everything
I
else.
thought that was so crazy that they did that. Her lips when she was playing Michelle Obama.
The thing about that is I think she's such a smart actress. I feel like Michelle Obama holds a lot of tension in her lips, and I feel like Viola Davis was emulating that, except they just look like very different people, and so it came across as something different.
Viola Davis is just so recognizable and so famous that to play another so recognizable famous person was a very hard task.
For sure. Someone who's like right in the forefront of your mind. So,
she's incredible though.
She is, yeah, and I believe she went to Juilliard too. I mean, she
did go to Juilliard.
Yeah, she's an actress.
Fill in the blank. God hates blank.
Hypocrites.
Hates them?
Well,
okay.
What am I supposed to say? Faggots.
No.
Oh,
well, you can. I don't care. Wouldn't be the first time.
I think hypocrites. I don't know that he hates them, but I think he hates hypocrisy.
Oh, okay.
Or
that might be the better route. God hates what?
They. I don't know that God's a he, but I think it's a.
They hate hypocrisy.
God's non-binary.
God is so she/they. These days, God is so she/they. Mm-hmm. God is so 0.4% Sri Lankan.
Absolutely.
At the beach doing K.
God would do ketamine, get in the water.
Okay, well,
with those the two rapid questions.
I just love knowing who people's favorite actors is. I think it's so interesting. You watched them. We got to wrap up soon, but you watched Forbidden Fruit last night?
I did.
What'd you think?
I thought it was.
You're like, I know people who work on it, so I cannot say how I actually feel.
I thought it was, it was a mix between Mean Girls and what is it? Practical Magic.
Nicole Kidman and Sandra Bullock.
I think that's what I'm thinking.
The Craft.
The Craft. It was a mix between like The Craft and Mean Girls, and they but set in a mall. I don't know if someone just was like, here's a mall and you can shoot anything you want in it, but because I'm like, that's a great thing. And stylistically, I thought they did a really interesting job. I've not seen anything exactly like that.
So you hated it.
I really enjoyed some of the performances.
Okay, you fucking hated it.
And stylistically, it was interesting.
Wow, that was a really interesting way of telling us it was your least favorite movie you've ever seen. I went to see Alpha last night.
Alpha, what is that?
I feel like you'd be all over it. Well, it's the director. I don't know how to say her name. Julia Ducournau. She did the movie Raw.
Oh, okay.
Have you seen Raw?
Yeah.
It's the girl who's a vegan and she finds out she's a cannibal. She like craves human flesh. It's incredible.
Wait, and this one's called Alpha.
And her second movie is called Titan.
Oh yeah.
And
I've
it's
seen
about
that too.
a woman who has sex with a car and gets pregnant.
Right.
And we've all been there. And
on ketamine.
This movie I walked out of after 45 minutes. It was like a really long, sad AIDS allegory, and it was really depressing.
I think we've had enough of those in some ways.
I couldn't do it. It was so sad. And it was just like really tiring to watch. Mm-hmm. And I was just really bummed because I really like her first two films. But I read up and she said she intentionally pivoted and she wanted to make something really grounded. And she said she intentionally made it, to remind people how sad AIDS was. And I was like, girl, no one wants to watch that.
No one forgot that it was sad either.
I was like, what are we doing here?
That's what I'm saying is like, I think that there have been enough
trying
stories.
To laugh.
Yeah, people want to have like queer stories that are also
uplifting.
It
felt regressive.
Yeah, that's
it was like this gay guy being made fun of for being gay, and then like he gets this weird disease and gets spots all over his body and dies, but they wouldn't call it AIDS. And I was like, girl, no.
Well,
she was like, have you guys heard of AIDS? It's really sad. I was like, yeah, we've heard of it. I get a clue.
Interesting.
Anyways, I really wanted to end on that note.
Yeah. So it's called Alpha.
Don't watch it.
Okay.
But I love the filmmaker, and I hope she pivots again.
Yeah, away from AIDS.
Yeah.
Away from AIDS.
Yeah, it's got.
We should all pivot away from AIDS. Get on prep.
Yeah,
Don't
this is
prep.
sponsored by Mister.
Yeah.
Get a prescription. All right. Well, thank you so much, Barrett. You're a joy in my life. And we made out every 4 times a weekend.
We did.
For 9 weekends.
We did.
In the musical.
4 times one weekend it was 5.
Yeah, and you said I was the best kisser you've ever experienced. All right. See you in heaven. Bye.